Hi all. Today we are going to discuss a famous poem, Passage to India by Walt Whitman. Walt Whitman was an American poet, essayist, and journalist. He was born in 1819 on Long Island, New York. Long Island was the almanac of many of his poems. During his early years, he was trained as a printer. On those days, he had to fill up for the material of his publisher, so he used to write on those days itself. Then became a teacher and finally a journalist and editor. He was less than successful. His radical views made him unpopular with readers. After an 1848 sojourn in the South, which introduced him to some of the variety of his country, he returned to New York and began to write poetry. He was second child of 8 children born to Walter and Louisa Van Wershe Whitman. As we have already told, he worked as a printer's apprentice and then as a school teacher. He was often called the father of free verse. Whitman worked as a journalist, teacher, and a government clerk too. He was a humanist and lived during the period between transcendentalism and realism. So his works reflect the features of both transcendentalism and realism. He had great admiration for President Lincoln, and on his death he had written the poems "O Captain, My Captain" and "When Lilacs Last in the Dooryard Bloomed." Ezra Pound called him America's poet. The poem Passage to India witnessed a world ready for its final accomplishment. What is the final accomplishment of a world? That is the creation of spiritual unity. See, we can see the material physical world and all. The final accomplishment of all these are the creation of spiritual unity. And the themes of his work, the passage to India, can be identified as exploration, expansion, and the future. See, the vision of future. The title Passage to India is a metaphor for the larger world of possibilities that opens up as humanity expands its capabilities and the desire to look into the past. See, the modern achievements had helped the world to open the possibilities for the world, and through these possibilities, the world and humanity as a whole expands its capabilities and desire to expands its capabilities and gets united. Here we are going to discuss the poem Passage to India. The first section. See, there are 9 sections in the poem. The first section, singing my days, singing the great achievements of the present, singing the strong light works of engineers. Our modern wonders, the antique ponderous 7 outweighed. In the old world, the east, the Suez Canal, the new by its mighty railroad spanned. The seas inlaid with eloquent gentle voice, It first to sound and ever sound the cry with the soul. The past, the past, the past. The past, the dark, unfathomed retrospect, the teeming gulf, the sleepage and shadows. The past, the infinite greatness of the past. For what is the present after all but a growth out of the past, as a projectile formed, impelled, passing a certain line, still keeps on. Show the present, utterly formed, impelled by the past. See, here, poet Walt Whitman is speaking of three great achievements of the modern world. So, he is appreciating those achievements. So, see, he is appreciating the present achievement. However, he says that these achievements are built upon the past. So, Whitman was greatly impressed by three great engineering achievements of the modern world. One, the opening of Suez Canal that took place in 1869, and the laying of the transatlantic undersea cable that happened in 1866. And the third one, the joining of the Union Pacific and Central Pacific Railroads at Utah to produce the nation's first transcontinental railroad. See, he is singing my days, singing the great achievements of the present. He is ready to appreciate the great achievements of the present, singing the strong light works of engineers. See, he is singing of, that is, appreciating the strong light works of engineers. The engineers were able to discover all these and they are able to achieve all these. See, our modern wonders. What are the modern wonders that are able to overcome the antique ponderous seven, the antique ponderous seven wonders that are able to outweigh the antique ancient ponderous seven wonders of the world. See, which are the seven wonders, our modern wonders? Old world is where east, it is in Egypt. Old world, that is the east itself, the Suez Canal in Egypt. Suez Canal was there, that was nationalized. And the new, where is the new? The new is the America itself. See, the America was spanned by its mighty railroad, that is joining of Union Pacific and Central Pacific Railroads at Utah. And the sea, the Pacific Sea itself, inlaid with elegant gentle voice, that is, laying of transatlantic undersea cable was done across Pacific. Yet first to sound and ever sound the cry with the soul, the past, the past, the past. Even though modern world is able to achieve all these wonders, he is saying that all this had made possible as a projectile of the past. See, what is the past? The past, the dark, unfathomed retrospect. Past is the dark, unfathomed. Unfathomed means unreachable, unseen, that cannot be measured, retrospect. See, all the achievements of the present was built upon the achievements of the past itself. We cannot measure, we cannot see, we cannot reach what the past was. See, the teeming gulf. See, the teeming gulf, that is overflowing gulf. The sleepers and shadows are there. The past, what was the past? The infinite greatness of the past. He is singing of the present and at the same time he is saying that all there that we were able to achieve was the infinite greatness of the past. For what is the present after all but growth out of the past? What is the present after all? Isn't it a growth out of the past, as a projectile formed, impelled, motivated, and influenced? Passing a certain line still keeps on. So the present utterly formed, impelled by the past. So the present is formed and then inspired by the achievements of the past. So he is saying that the improved communication that was able by undersea cable of the transatlantic undersea cable, and improved communication and travel how joining of Union Pacific and Central Pacific railroads and opening of Suez Canal, thus making possible a shorter passage to India. Anyway, here the completion of physical journey to India is only a prelude to the spiritual pathway to India, the East, and ultimately to God itself. He is speaking of all these achievements that we are able to get. We are able to achieve all these modern 3 wonders. We will be able through all these wonders to achieve into what the spiritual reality other than the physical reality. The physical reality will help us to achieve the spiritual reality, that is the ultimate aim of the person. The poet celebrates his time. His time means the modern time, and he is singing of the great achievements of the present. He is appreciating the great achievements of the present and listing as they are our modern wonders: the opening of Suez Canal, the building of the Great American Railroad, and the laying of transatlantic cable. Yet, these achievements, he says, are of the present. Yet these achievements of the present, he says, have grown out of the past. These achievements were built upon the past. Past, he says, of the past as the dark, unfathomed retrospect. The past is vast, huge one, so it is dark and unfathomed. It cannot be measured, it cannot be identified, its depth, retrospect. If the present is great, he says, the past is greater, because the present is like a projectile. Present is like a projectile. The present is impelled by the past. It is inspired. It was built upon the past. And he says that the world of physical reality comes before the world of spiritual reality. The physical reality here are the 3 wonders of the modern world. This helps forward the spiritual reality, he says. The present is significant, though it is an extension of past. In another word, the present is significant. It should be appreciated. It is important, though it is an extension of past. And this achievement, he says, must enrich his spiritual life by evoking past. Okay.